Hi, I'm Patrick Reagan. Welcome to the Wireless Networking Part 4, Configuring Wireless Networking for Guest and IoT. In this video, we will discuss setting up a guest network in Captive Portal and perform network segmentations for Internet of Things or IoT. A wireless guest network is a separate Wi-Fi network created on a router specifically for visitors, allowing them to access the Internet without giving them full access to your primary network and its connected devices. It is used to help protect your personal data and privacy by providing a restricted internet connection for guests while keeping your main network secure. It will have a separate SSID and password compared to your main network. Users on the guest network will have limited access, including not able to access shared files, printers, or other devices on your primary network. While isolating guest traffic, it helps prevent potential security risks from malicious devices connected to the guest network. You can often set bandwidth limitations for the guest network to manage usage. A captive portal is a web page that users must access and interact with before gaining full access to a public Wi-Fi network or guest network, typically requiring them to log in, agree to terms of service, or provide personal information before they can browse the internet. It's commonly seen at places like airports, hotels, or coffee shops when connecting to their guest Wi-Fi. When you connect to a network with a captive portal, your browser is automatically redirected to a specific login page where you need to authenticate yourself before accessing the internet. This page usually prompts you to enter credentials, agree to terms and conditions, and sometimes even pay for access to the network. Captive portals allow businesses to control who can access the network, collect user information for marketing purposes, and enforce terms of service. The timeout configuration on a captive portal determines how long a user session remains authenticated or active before they are required to log in again. It defines the maximum duration of the user's access through the captive portal. After the long timeout expires, the portal invalidates the session and the user must re-authenticate via the login page, voucher, or splash page. Timeouts can be used to prevent unauthorized access if a session is left open or unattended, free up IP leases or bandwidth, and enforce billing or fair usage. Types of timeouts include idle timeout, which logs the user out after a period of inactivity where no data is sent or received. Hard timeout, which is a session timeout that disconnects the user after a fixed amount of time regardless of activity. Absolute timeout on some systems limits the total accumulated time a user can be online in a day or per voucher. Best practices for timeout include idle timeout is recommended 5 to 15 minutes for public networks. Session timeout should be 30 minutes to 12 hours depending on use case. You should combine both for better control. Here's an example of configuring the captive page. For Wi-Fi guest networks best practices, you should do the following. Rotate password periodically, especially for temporary or public-facing setups. Use strong encryption such as WPA2 or WPA3, with WPA3 preferred for modern devices, but WPA2-AES is still acceptable. Avoid open or unencrypted networks unless using a captive portal with HTTPS and TLS-based encryption at higher levels. Prevent abuse and ensure fair usage. Limit bandwidth and set timeouts, and set idle and session timeouts. Use a separate SSID that is clearly named, such as guest_Wi-Fi. Isolate guest network from internal LAN. Prevent guests from accessing printers, file shares, or devices on your main network. Restrict access to local resources within firewall rules or access control lists or ACLs. Block peer-to-peer and broadcast traffic to prevent devices on the guest network from talking to each other and reduces the risk of attacks between guest devices, such as ARP spoofing. Use DNS filtering or proxy to block malicious or inappropriate content. Monitor and log guest activities for compliance and abuse prevention. To effectively manage Internet of Things or IoT devices with your wireless access point, consider creating a separate guest network or VLAN for them using 2.4 GHz for connectivity and implementing strong security measures like WPA2 encryption or stronger with a strong password. Isolating IoT devices on separate network or VLAN significantly enhances security. IoT devices are often less secure and can be vulnerable to cyber attacks, so keeping them separate protects your main network and sensitive data. Many IoT devices are designed to operate at the 2.4 GHz frequency band, which has a wider range and better compatibility with older devices. Consider using a hidden SSID for your IoT network, making it less likely to be discovered by unauthorized users. If you have a more advanced network setup, consider placing a firewall between your IoT network and your main network. Keep your IoT devices and access point firmware updated to the latest versions to patch security vulnerabilities. Question: before using a guest network, an administrator requires users to accept the terms of use. Which of the following is the best way to accomplish this goal? Answer: captive portal. Question: you want to implement an authentication process for temporary access to an organization's network. Which of the following technologies would facilitate this process? Answer: captive portal. Question: which of the following answers refers to a security solution that allows administrators to restrict network access for users until they complete a required action? Answer: captive portal. Question: true or false? When working with IoT devices, you should place them in your guest network to isolate them from your main network. Answer: false. For more information, visit these sites. In summary, a wireless guest network is a separate Wi-Fi network created on a router specifically for visitors, allowing them to access the internet without giving them full access to your primary network and its connected devices. A captive portal is a web page that users must access and interact with before gaining full access to the public Wi-Fi network or guest network, typically requiring them to log in, agree to terms of service, or provide personal information before they can browse the internet. To effectively manage Internet of Things or IoT devices with your wireless access point, consider creating a separate guest network or VLAN for them using 2.4 GHz for connectivity and implementing strong security measures like WPA2 encryption or stronger with a strong password. Thank you for watching this video. The next video will be Basic Wireless Networking, Part 5, Troubleshoot Wireless Issues. If you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Thank you.